I do listen, and this is what happens when I listen. From the 11 chefs in the kitchen of your head video, I got feedback, which is, hey, re rephrasing your question. Hey, I have a job. I don't want to do my job. Help me quit my job. This isn't Capital Factory where I'm going to be helping you quit your job. That's Josh Bear. Help me quit my job. This is Larry Chang. And hi, nice to hang out with you. Great to hang out. Which is us doing 33 components of going from CTO to CPO. Why? Because you've got a job right now that you're doing inside of engineering and you want to try to quit your job, right? Because you want to try to get 3x more money because some of the stuff that I'm saying is beginning to resonate with you in your mindset of, oh my God, I think I can make more money. These are the details to transition from I'm not a great employee at my job doing engineering work to being a solo CEO, solo founder that then hands out co founder credits. And let's say you don't want to do entrepreneurship per se, but we can see that these are skills that we can then start to warehouse should we want to have more options. 33 components going from CTO to CPO, Chief Product Officer. These components are business skills that once we get them, we can do pretty much whatever we want to do. Business skill number one. This is the problem that we're solving. The problem is that engineers and CTOs get screwed all the time because business majors are always trying to hire us to be a code monkey where we're working for no equity and getting screwed. These are the countermeasures to Wartnite seeks code monkey, or B school people are trying to hire us for equity and we get screwed out of money and we have problems because we're not the ones in control. These are 33 core tenets that I'm going to bullet point for free. Why? Because you asked the question and it exploded out of my brain from the question that came from 11 chefs in the kitchen of your brain. How do I quit my job? Like, what? Like, I'll answer that question, but in this room, 33 components. Let's go. Which is this. One, when we are CTO, we've never closed our own deals. And when we haven't closed a deal ever, that's going to hinder us from doing deals where those business douchebags, like, that's a skill that's actually not that straightforward. It just seems like we want to take a shower after we experience it. Do we want to be the shower-e or the shower-er? And are these metaphors getting lost? No, because we're going to practice doing a miniature deal. Here goes. Would you like to do a deal with me? This is not me asking you. This is you practicing your first deal closing, which is, oh, are you going to buy me lunch after I do your work for you? Just asking a small deal question. And if they say, no, I'm not buying you your lunch, say, okay, well, I'll do the task for you anyway. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to practice our deal making. And let's just use lunch to be, oh, well, let's bet. Not bet like a sports bet, which is stupid, by the way. Let's bet lunch that I can execute your task with you with this reward. So you're not really betting lunch, you're trying to close a deal for lunch. Better yet, the mini deal is if you do this for me, I will buy you lunch. And so we're practicing on our deal components. Mini deal closing. We've got 32 more. Let's settle in because these are going to go fast. Number 2, collecting on a deal. When you close a deal, it turns out 90% of the work really isn't done yet. It's actually collecting the money on that deal. And so collecting on some detail involves people expanding on a prior deal. And the best way to do this is with a baby deal. In fact, if you want to, oh my God, this is only for the live stream. This is not for after whatever. If you want to do a deal with me, I'll buy some token thing that you're selling on eBay for like less than 50 bucks. And that'll be a deal that you and I will do together to get you over the hump of I've never done a deal. In fact, write this part number down. That's a power cord that I will literally let you have to sell on eBay. 703-0458. Handing out $50 bills. I hope you didn't get that. I'll repeat it. 703-0458. Next thing, we're doing a baby deal, which is internal escrow. This is how internal escrow works. This is one of the most street smart, business savvy things to do. It works like this. Internal escrow. I will sell you a notebook for $50. But if you do 2 pages of the notebook and then put it on Instagram or YouTube, I'll give you all $50 back. And if you don't trust me to give me the $50 that I'll give you the money back, place that $50 into internal escrow. And they'll be like, well, what is internal escrow? Now you're selling a business protocol that you watched a video from on YouTube, which works like this. Third-party escrow is the money's parked in the middle at a third-party entity. Internal escrow is the money never leaves your control. Internal escrow. Because we've never met before. Hi, I'm Larry Chang. Nice to meet you. We've never met before, so you don't trust to give me 50 bucks. Hold the money, $50, in a separate account that you open, and when we do the deal to its fruition, to its conclusion, to a point that you can feel good about the $50, then you release the $50. And so what you're doing is you're walking people through collection of the money, you're walking them through the value production, you're walking them through the value transfer. There's a lot of little deals which we as CTO don't really have to deal with because we're engineers just doing the back end. And if we're at the back of the house cooking the food, we're screwed if we don't know what's going on in the front of the house. Am I alluding to 11 kitchens in the business of your brain? Yeah, I am. But that just got you the conclusion of that video, which is be one chef in the kitchen, and then know that as a chef in the kitchen, you once in a while want to walk to the front of the house to determine, hey, how is my food getting eaten? How is work getting accomplished? Next point in the 33 skills that we need to have in going from CTO to CEO, which is this. Hunt for a problem. When people talk to people, if there's no problem that's being hunted down, what are you even having a business conversation about? It is incredibly street smart to ask a person, hey, did I hear that to be your problem? Clarifying the problem and then asking for a dollar amount. Wow, this script's perfect. Asking a dollar amount for exactly how much does the problem cost to save. There are people like this walking around, because what we're trying to hone in on is not just people casually talking about their problems. We're hunting for rich people with specific problems so that way we can solve them using code, because we don't want to just be a code monkey. We want to be the money person and retire on the job. And so talking money to an associated problem works like this. I heard you have a problem with never using a paper notebook. Would it be of value to you if you were to improve the wiring of your brain by putting pen to paper? Studies have shown putting pen to paper, blah, blah, blah. Well, couldn't I do this without you? Yeah. Let's be accountability people as we do penmanship club. Let's be accountability people as it comes to video club. Let's be book club members where we're reading out of the same book. And what you're doing is you're hunting problems of what people might have as a problem, together winning as solver of problem with the associated dollar amount. Venture capital business development. We can do that as a CTO. We can do that as an engineer. How? By listening to people's ideas on what they have if they were to start a joke business, and asking people proactively, hey, have you ever thought about starting a small business? Have you ever thought about doing a startup, where we're helping that business with me as your internet friend? Hey, my friend had a business idea for blah, blah, blah. How would you get the first 600K in revenue for that business? So now as CTO, you are transitioning to CPO, Chief Product Officer, before later when you've got all these 33 skills, and we're at number 9, all these skills that then hammer and dovetail together to be solo founder CEO, where you're giving out co-founder credits. Like, how awesome douchey is that, where you get to pick your princesses and princes to be lieutenants. Vaporware, sell it first and then code it. Vaporware is sell it first and then buy it, because it's really not vaporware anymore, with AI pretty much being able to code up anything you want super fast, in addition to the existing APIs that already exist. So whatever you hear is a problem, you're no longer needing to code that up in doing vaporware, because what you hear is the problem, and then you find one or maybe at most 2 APIs to be able to solve solo problem. So you're selling it first and then coding it as a CTO, as an engineer, or even as a person who's never really learned to code. Now you're hunting for problems, and now you're going to need to now hunt for a YouTube video on how to ship your first line of code, which is not that intimidating. It is semi-intimidating, but that's for a different video. This video is CTO to CEO. Let's go. Selling one thing on eBay is a product to first sell and then going to buy it. Everybody does this wrong, where everybody buys 10 products and then hopes to sell 8 of them. That's not the way to do it. You want to sell it first and then buy it. And so, congratulations on being on my live stream. I will literally give you $50 when you write down this part number, 703-0458. 703-0458. Problem. There's a Braun power shaver that does not have a charger because they lost their charger. Solution. You sell them a charger and then later you go buy it. That is one of the best CTO skills if you're hoping to eventually become CEO, of something. Cool, right? Next topic, listening to a retard. Oh my God. This is genius. What CTOs are not able to do is listen to users that they think are really dumb. And it turns out these dumb people, they'll actually say something genius, but they'll only say it way later. And that's why pen and paper is critical, because it makes them want to say more. And so when you're listening to a remedial person who doesn't seem smart, what you're doing is you're manipulating your own smart brain into understanding how a dumb person is thinking and presenting. And what happens is you're going to get an Easter egg out of that conversation, which is counterintuitive but critical, because it's two words: motivational listening. And that finishes off the topic of how to listen to a retard. Page 36, 4 steps to the epiphany. When users talk to the company typically rolls its eyes and are like, I don't care about these issues, and the user gets ignored. That's page 136 of 4 Steps to the Epiphany. Oh, the book's conveniently right here. When users don't get listened to, the company gets screwed. And so when you're trying to quit your job, what really helps is focusing on what your boss is trying to tell you to do, and couple your boss's agenda with the agenda of customers. Because if you can guess what the customer's seeking, you are way ahead of the game in expanding on page 36 of 4 Steps to the Epiphany. Video Club. Being able to go from CTO to CEO, you're going to need to video club. And that is where you watch a video, you get better from that video, and then you collaborate with another person who you rope into video club. And so we're watching a video, getting better, and then in cahoots with our cohort, getting better after having watched a YouTube video. Video club. Is this similar to book club, where we get 2 to 5 people to join our book club? No, we can just get one person to join our book club. In fact, book club is such a advantage right now that you can be one person in a solo person book club. Does this sound like a solo run company? Yes, because what we're paying attention to in Silicon Valley is the fact that Hockel Entrepreneurship Club is going to have a solo founder female or solo founder person who's going to get to $1 billion. Cold open one person. A critical skill to have is to being able to cold open one person. And that's page 149. Easter Bunny, easy money. Cold opening one person in a coffee shop. Cold opening an email. Networking with a stranger. That's cold opening. And so when you cold open one person, you've now gotten yourself off of 0 people that you've ever cold opened. Cold opening and networking is the hardest thing to do as an engineer. I don't know why, but once you do it a couple times, the entire world is your library. The entire world is literally at your fingertips. This is what happened with social media, is it made it so easy to connect with people that people somehow became disconnected because it's so easy. It's so easy to cold email people. But then their brain is wired to be, well, what if I send an email and they don't respond within like 16 minutes? Because our brain got wired funky by needing immediate gratification. How many times have you heard this? A lot. How do you solve this? By delaying gratification and hacking the marshmallow test of how do we cold open. My God, this video is spot on. Book club at a nightclub. CTO to CEO, CTO to CEO is a bunch of counterintuitive things. And the most counterintuitive thing that I know that is also risk-free is, let's say we never go to a nightclub. That's okay. We bring 2 books to a nightclub with 1 friend. Now we're book clubbing at a nightclub. And you're like, there's no way that that could ever work. There's just no way that that could ever work. Once something works where you think it could never work, along with it being no risk, that's the key, is to not risk shit all, because we're engineers. Why should we risk anything? We're doing something different. We might temporarily feel weird about it, but there's no risk to it, which is 2 people, 2 books in a nightclub. Book club in a nightclub. It can't not work. It's like bringing a puppy to the mall. It's like better than a puppy in a mall. It's book club in a nightclub. Remember, we're going from CTO to solo CEO with a middle step at CPO, Chief Product Officer, Chief Technical Officer to Chief Executive Officer, Chief Technical Officer to Chief Product Officer. And if we right now work as an engineer, let's pretend it's 15 years in the future and we are CTOs. So how do we springboard from that truth, which is we're frustrated that we're only making 250K. Let's go into PQRST, me in an article. What is PQRST? Preview, question, read, summarize, test. Any article, meaning before we meet with somebody, we read an article so that way we've previewed, questioned, read, summarized, and tested for that interaction. Host one event for 11 minutes. You're welcome. When you go from guest to host, you become supercharged. And when you're hosting an event for 11 minutes, there's literally nothing that can go wrong because it's only for 11 minutes. And let's say only 7 people come. Let's say in the worst case scenario, nobody comes. Nothing went badly that nothing happened. But what happens when you try to host a party for 11 minutes is most probably 40 people will come. And remember, if 10 people come, it's a massive success because you've risked no money. And there's a protocol for hosting an event as an engineer. It's called LTMVP, less than minimum viable party, LTMVP. This next component is a whale, which is retire on the job. So when you're asking, how do I quit my job? You're really trying to disconnect from your manager. And you don't want to do that. You want to put your manager's brain inside your brain to ask the question, hey, how do I do a better job for my manager? And what does my manager want me to do? That's protocol ROTJ, because you're doing such a good job that you can retire on the job because it's going to take you 6 hours per week to do your job. And that's lecture 19 of CS 183E. That's also lecture 19, CS 183D. That's also lecture 19 of Engineering 145 at Stanford University. I didn't go to Stanford University, but I archived these things because they're the sequence of best practices for ROTJ, which is how do I quit my job as CTO and moonlight to be CEO of my next gig, which is retire on the job. Winning at Joke franchises. My God, this script is amazing. So what you're doing with a joke franchise is you're starting a faux business. You're starting a fake business, and it's a joke franchise. And so an 11-minute party, it seems like a joke, but you actually execute it as it being an after party to a legit event. Because if your legit event doesn't have a after party, is the event even legit? And that's what joke franchises is meant to conjure up, which is momentum from wherever you are at. Next component in going from CTO to CEO is do 2 landing pages. 2 landing pages. I'm not saying do an entire website. I'm saying do 1 landing page for 1 social media post that resonated with you. Let's say you got some value out of 11 chefs in the kitchen of my mind. I am now going to create a landing page for what I watched, embed the video, and then translate it into what benefit it provided me. That is do 2 landing pages. You just do it once and then you do it again. Oh, this one's a whale of a tip. Remember, we're talking about components going from CTO to CEO. Dress like a VC for 1 day. Pretend like it's Halloween and pretend the assignment is dress like a venture capitalist. That's it. Do a selfie, send it to me, or don't send it to me. It's fine either way. But dress like a VC for 1 day. Shave. Put gel in your hair and really ham it up to be. And one of those vests are hilarious. You could get used vests at the secondhand store. They're like less than $20, but it's hilarious. In fact, I think Amazon sells a VC vest for brand new for less than $20. Next issue that we're doing is external API. So, as an engineer who's going from CTO to CEO, we want to see the entire world for what it is. It's a bunch of external APIs everywhere. And if we're doing page 149 of 4 Steps to the Epiphany, remember, what are we doing? We're cheerleading somebody else's API. And so when we're cheerleading somebody else's API, we're going to get credit for having promoted that API. Because whenever I'm like, hey, watch this Stanford engineering video, people are like, are you the dean of Stanford engineering? Or why are you promoting it? Well, it's free, and that's what we want to do as CTOs is we want to hard sell the free and be a cheerleader. That's page 149, Steve Blank. Moving right along, that was external API. Moving right along, we want to bait a cease and desist. What? Cease and desist sound crazy. Not if you're doing it correctly via the change one word format. For example, let's say you never use TikTok. Or you use TikTok and you have an API. You can call it the Larry Chang TikTok interaction with the Larry Chang TikTok, insert your name, obviously. Or you could call it TikTok tracker or TikTok heat map. And so you're baiting a cease and desist. Why? Not because we want to get sued, but we want to be business douchebags at the umpteenth level of douchery because we don't want to be the slaves that business school and law school people hire. We want to be our own slave master, which is CTO to CEO. Baiting a cease and desist is incredibly street smart, and it adheres to the United States rules of law when it comes to trademark. When I'm buying a McDonald's cheeseburger and I'm slathering some chocolate on it and then deep fat frying it and then selling it to you as a chocolate covered McDonald's cheeseburger, that's fully legal. And so laws are written for trademarks to be utilized. And if you bait a cease and desist properly, then you want to be cease and desisted because then you will win. Why? Because the company sends out a blanket of cease and desists, knowing that most people just cower in fear of the large company. And remember, the loser in civil court pays. And so when we win a cease and desist, now we are emboldened to run two protocols, hashtag CS183 law and hashtag external API. Do these take in-depth readings into? A little bit, but it's not that in-depth. And I'll be your sounding board for if you have questions. How cool is that? External APIs. Next topic is buy me dinner. Not buy Larry Chang dinner, but you're asking people out, hey, will you buy me dinner? And it sounds like a ginormous ask, but if you ask 12 people to buy you dinner, you're going to get a varying level of responses. What are you doing when you're playing with this? You're not asking for $1,000,000. You're not asking for $12 million. You're just asking, hey, will you buy me dinner? And what you're doing is you will experience pain from other people saying no. But what if somebody were to say yes? That's the buy me dinner exercise of doing this, which is CTO to CEO. Also, if you guys do 2 or 3 of these, I will fly out to meet you guys, and then you'll watch me ask random hot women to buy me dinner, and then you'll see, oh my God, this actually works. And then you'll be able to take notes on the protocol and the sequential of little steps for the ask of, hey, hi, I'm Larry Chang. It's great to meet you. Will you buy me dinner? Next point. These are skills from going from CTO to CEO, which is how to say thank you and how to send a thank you note. And this is critical. Why? Because when we are founders, we need to be able to say thank you. And a lot of people, they don't say thank you ever. So we're going to practice by sending one thank you. We're going to practice by initially doing a thank you. And that is not a skill that is at zero. In fact, a lot of people talk about the patriarchy, like the best people that say hi and thank you super well are people that are garden variety Caucasian dudes, such as myself. So being able to say thank you is a critical skill in the stepwise function to go from CTO to CEO. Hosts versus guests. Being a permanent guest is not good. Hosting is a skill that is critical because you are going from the non-player character to the alpha hero because you are hosting. And so going from guest to host is the most critical step for us to go from CTO to CEO. Time-wise, we're going to have to rifle through this if I'm going to come in under time. Front run one thing. Oh my God. This is juicy awesome because once you go from slow execution to I'm going to front run one thing, your eyes will open and you'll be rewarded for fast execution of things that you have not yet experienced from a brain chemical standpoint. When you front run one thing, your dopamine will explode in your brain. What do I mean by front run one? We front run one event where we guesstimate, hey, they're going to forget to do an after party, Or they're under promoting their party. Let's put the after party 2 days prior before their party or 1 day prior. And what happens is our brain will just grow with confidence from being able to say, hey, I front ran what I saw to be a problem. I went ahead and solved that problem. Risk. Seeing the world for what it is, which is risky, but not thinking that everything that we come into contact with is trying to steal from us. This is why we're going to risk something incredibly small. I recommend an 11-minute event where you're like, there's no way people want to come to an 11-minute event. And if you want to go from CTO to CEO, I would do an 11-minute party for that book that you've half read, or hosting an author for a virtual book signing at the next time he's speaking at a work conference. By doing an 11-minute party in the lobby of the hotel, your business acumen will grow so much because you're able to because your business acumen will grow so much from you front running and risk mitigating. Mentor mention per press interview 1 time. What you're doing here is not necessarily waiting to get on CNN or ABC News or whatever news program. The bar is so low right now with networking that you don't even need to wait for a celebrity media outlet to host you on their podcast. You can mention a mentor via YouTube and then tag the person who you're mentioning. Social networking has made it so easy that people decide, yeah, it's easy to do, but it's easier not to do it. And then for some reason, that when the bar goes so low that people get paralyzed. And what I'm recommending that we do is to do one mentor mention per press interview. And initially, let's say you can't get onto a big podcast. Let's say you don't even want to go on a big podcast, but you want to check this thing off your box. The way to do it is by doing a 2-minute video that you appear on camera or don't appear on camera, where you point to content and say, these are the notes that I took. These are the notes that I took for going from CTO to CEO. These are the notes that I took. This is what I then did, which is ask a VC to 2x me, which is actually my next topic, which is how to get a VC to 2x us. We ask. That's all we're doing. Just like asking for people to buy us dinner, asking a VC that we don't know, hey, can we talk on the phone because I'd like to figure out if you can 2x my business, and then after the 2x, and then I'll give you cheaper stock. Asking a VC to 2x our business. Remember, we're talking about going from CTO to CEO. And what better way than to realize that we ourselves already are VCs? Let me repeat that. There's this joke concept called R2D2 VC. What is R2D2? He's the chief technical officer of the Millennium Falcon. If you never watched Star Wars or think that that franchise was total crap, well, it used to be really good. And R2D2 as a VC is actually the solution that Silicon Valley is going to realize in about 10 to 22 years. You get this knowledge now. Why? Because you're on some random dude's stream dropping knowledge bombs left and right, which is R2D2 as a VC. That's Chief Technical Officer going from CTO to CEO by having some VC skills. What are VCs? Glorified biz dev people. And this is the ginormous Easter egg, which you should be saying thank you for, which is this. As CTOs, we can VC our way into cheerleading for somebody else's business. So we're promoting the stock of a company that we're just a fan of. Is this page 149 of Stephen Blank? Yes, because how many times have we cheerleaded for someone else? Or do we see some other retard succeeding and saying stuff like, why is that retard succeeding? We're smarter than they are, right? That's what R2D2 VC is cheerleading for another person's business as we go from CTO to CEO. This one's a hilarious one. Insult a stranger versus only uh, versus only never insulting a stranger. My God, that's hilarious. Insulting a stranger versus only insulting family. Admit it, you insult family a lot, you insult your friends a lot. You should insult a stranger instead of your family and your friends. You should compliment and cheerlead. Your strangers, insult them. Don't insult family, don't insult friends. Hire an intern. Oh my God. So there's somebody who's behind you who's hoping that they get your knowledge. Can you bring them on as an intern? Doesn't even have to be like a full summer intern. It could just be like a partial intern. And when we hire an intern, what we're doing is we're sharing how we get managed. And so the benefit to that is that we manage somebody else versus only get managed. So hire an intern, huge, huge, huge life hack. Speak at a conference or do stand up. So when we speak at a conference, what we're doing is furthering our career. But let's say that we can't get a conference producer to hire us to be a public speaker. What we're going to need to do is we're going to need to work the wait list by finding one of the speakers who are already speaking and doing a fireside chat for their book that is to be presented at the conference. So we speak at a conference that we have not yet been invited to because we are doing a fireside chat in promoting the book. Do you see how that's page 49, 149 of being a cheerleader, where we're cheerleading somebody else's book by doing book club for their book, in essence, letting us ask questions in a fireside chat. So going from CTO to CEO involves promoting somebody else's book by then speaking at a conference as a waitlist speaker. Speakers drop out all the time, and this is great content to use as a fill-in because your content will go from unofficial content to official content. Remember, these are street smart things to go from CTO to CEO. Hosting a book signing outside of a conference. You can cheerlead a book that you did not write by assembling a book signing that's a virtual book signing with a real world event that's for 11 minutes. And do you get how these things are all incredibly street smart? How cool is this time together? Thank you for joining.